corn is really good quality.
Hoosier farmers preparing for spring planting season and bracing for the potential impact of tariffs. We dig into what it all means with a Central Indiana farmer and a Purdue ag expert. Plus, Indianapolis cashing in on hosting the Big Ten Tourney. See how the schools in the conference are teaming up to fight cancer.
We're using a lot of staffing, moving things around. Got any?
You have some solutions for me?
Inside the classroom at a rural Indiana public school, the challenges facing students, parents, teachers, and administrators. Inside Indiana Business is next.
From Indiana's business news leader, this is IBJ Media's Inside Indiana Business with Gerry Dick, presented by Elevate Ventures and Indiana University.
Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gerry Dick. Well, the equipment is out of Hoosier barns, primed and ready to roll through Indiana's rich farm soil to plant and grow the next batch of corn, soybeans, and other crops, which help make Indiana one of the top 10 agricultural states in the country. Now, spring planting is right around the corner, and there's a mixed outlook among Indiana's 94,000 farmers heading into the season. On the upside, Purdue's latest ag economy barometer shows farmer sentiment up 11 points in February, largely due to a recovery in crop prices and a strengthening livestock sector. But there are also concerns over potential tariffs and crop prices as well. China imports more Indiana soybeans than any other country, and Mexico is the biggest importer of Hoosier corn. Indiana farming contributes some $35 billion to the state's economy. For more perspective on the state of agriculture in Indiana, Mary Rachel Redmond caught up with Don Lamb at his family farm in Boone County.
Well, Gary, one thing that's always remained at the heart of this state, it's farms. Agriculture really the lifeblood of the Hoosier economy, pumping in more than $35 billion into the state. And it's family operations like lamb farms here in Boone County that continue to be the backbone of the Indiana ag sector. Don Lamb is the director of the Indiana State Department of Agriculture, but he's also a second-generation farmer.
What's our price of corn on this?
Along with his 87-year-old dad, Bob.
$5.26 per bushel.
Brother Dean and his two nephews. And as planting season approaches, farmers in Indiana face some major challenges.
In the short term, as far as the state of agriculture right now, it's really hard because we're price takers. So when we think about commodity prices, we can't set the price for our product. We take what the market gives us. And right now, because of really supply and demand factors, we've got low prices. And also, we've got inflation. And also, we've got high interest rates. So the factors that all kind of need to be on the same side of the equation are working against each other right now. And so farmers right now are really having a hard time as far as looking out in this next year, especially for a crop farmer, and you're projecting what you're going to make off this crop that you haven't even planted yet, and you're hoping that something changes before you harvest it, because right now it's really hard to project a profit.
Rising input costs for things like fuel and fertilizer are making it harder for Hoosier farmers to turn a profit.
Everything builds on itself when it comes to those input costs. If it's fuel, it affects everything. It affects the price of seed. It affects the price of fertilizer. You know, it's hard to find an input in agriculture right now that's either steady or going down. Almost everything we do is a higher cost. Business normally would say, okay, I'm going to pass that on to my consumer and you're going to pay more. And consumers out there right now are saying, I am paying more because of the same factors. It's not because the farm's making money. It's because of all the input costs, for getting that product to the market.
They'll be met with the exact same tariff unless they drop it.
Talk of tariffs and trade wars have dominated the news cycle since the Trump administration took office in January. But how do Indiana farmers feel?
I think when it comes to tariffs, farmers want to be on board with things like making sure that we increase our security. We want to be on board with making sure that we have fair trade. The problem with it is when we're in already a situation where we've got low commodity prices and it's all about supply and demand, this is going to potentially hurt that curve. The other thing is 85% of our potassium fertilizer, for example, comes out of Canada. Farmers are going to have a really hard time ever saying, yes, we're all for tariffs. Agriculture is about producing food. At the heart of it, that's how we affect every person in the world. And so we produce it on a small scale for local markets, and we produce it on this big scale where tariffs are affected and everything in between. So it's a little bit hard to say as far as how it will affect the overall ag picture, because ag is changing all the time anyway.
Despite the uncertainty right now, Lamb made clear that he's confident not only in Hoosier farmers, but the future of agriculture here in Indiana. That does it from here in Boone County. Gerry, back to you.
All right, Mary Rachel, thank you. For more insight now on the state of agriculture in Indiana, we head to Purdue University, where agricultural economics assistant professor Chad Fiechter joins us now live from West Lafayette. Chad, thanks for joining us. You heard Don Lamb there talk a little bit about the state of agriculture, and to kind of piggyback off that, as you and I were talking off camera, a lot of concern about pricing going into this season and the profitability of Hoosier farmers.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Don said it really well. In that we're going to be planting this season. Our projections are that a lot of farms can't project making money into the future, and it's not a process of if we produce more, right? If we have a really good production year, that's going to solve our problems. We've got a pricing problem, right? Prices have to come higher for us to feel good about our financial standing at the end of the year.
Yeah, interesting. The Purdue CME Ag Barometer, which is a monthly reading attitude of farmers, there's a gap between the long-term expectations, which I think are rather positive, according to the report, and the short-term expectations, which are kind of negative. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yeah, I think this is really fascinating. And again, I think I would reference what Don had to say. There's optimism, long-term optimism on the state of agriculture and kind of a hope for something in the future. But that short-term expectation is just, it's lagging behind. But I don't think this is necessarily unusual. Farmers are used to kind of the cyclicality of markets. But this one feels fairly challenging right now.
Yeah, farmers, I think, are the ultimate entrepreneurs, certainly, in dealing with uncertainties. And one of the uncertainties, prospect of tariffs. How is that playing into the mindset, into the psyche of Indiana farmers?
That's a great question. I think so. If we go back to the reading on the Ag Economy Barometer, one of the things that coming out of February is we were having some higher prices. So in the last 3 weeks, we've lost in the corn and soybean market a significant amount, like 40 cents in corn, potentially more, and soybeans similar. So that sentiment, those elevated sentiments are reflecting sort of a condition where the prices seemed a little bit better. And now as we're entering this phase where I think tariffs add uncertainty, and the prices that we're seeing on the Chicago board are definitely reflecting that uncertainty. So in the short term, it's hard to imagine a world where those tariffs are a positive in supporting price. But we don't know. I'd love to know.
Yeah. Great perspective, Chad Fiechter from Purdue University on the state of agriculture in Indiana. Look forward to talking to you more as the season progresses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, lots more business news from around Indiana still ahead, including the hand being played in Gary to land a new convention center. More on the latest pitch from Hard Rock Casino. That's next.
Here's what's making news around Indiana. Brought to you by the Indiana Association of Realtors. Indiana's 21,000 realtors. The neighbors you know, the experts you can count on.
And we begin this week with a mixed bag when it comes to jobs coming and going around Indiana. First, in Boone County, where GXO Logistics plans to spend $11 million to expand its distribution facility in Lebanon. GXO operates Nike Rebound at the site, where it handles North American returns for sporting goods giant Nike. The expansion expected to add about 400 new full-time jobs and be complete in 2027.
The packaging that protects your purchases, your treasured possessions, can have many lives.
And more jobs coming to Zykai Group operations in Madison County, the Spain-based company, which recycles paper for packaging, investing more than $100 million in its second U.S. manufacturing plant in Anderson, bringing with it more than 100 new jobs. On the flip side, though, job losses in southern Indiana, Chicago-based R.R. Donnelley closing its facility in Seymour, putting nearly 100 people out of work. R.R. Donnelley markets and packages coupons, magazine inserts, and other marketing items. Well, a big name headlining a big event coming to Indianapolis. Innovator, Shark Tank investor, and IU alum Mark Cuban will deliver the keynote address at the Global Entrepreneurship Congress in early June. Thousands of investors, entrepreneurs, and policymakers from around the world will gather at the Indiana Convention Center for workshops, networking, and other events. It's only the second time this Global Entrepreneurship Congress has been held in the United States. Meantime, Gary pushing all of its chips into becoming home to a convention center in Lake County. At a community meeting this week, Hard Rock casino leaders explaining why it would be the perfect place for a convention center.
About 4 months after we opened in May of 2021, by the time we got to October of 2021, we were the top revenue producing casino.
Gary, not the only city in play for a new convention center in Northwest Indiana. The city of Hobart has also submitted plans to build a convention center there, a decision expected by the end of May. In Northeast Indiana, work continues on the Main Street Mile initiative in Upland. Indianapolis-based the Veritas Group was just selected to lead master planning for a series of revitalization projects there. It involves more than $100 million of public and private investment over the next 3 years. In Wabash, Honeywell Arts and Entertainment continues to grow its programming and regional impact. The organization hosted nearly 170 live shows and brought programs to 93 Indiana schools. A new annual report shows 80% of ticket buyers came from outside Wabash County.
I want to see us make sure that this region has all of the opportunities that any major metropolitan area would have. And that's a pretty big goal to have, but that's why you see so much growth and so many activities. Is we're really looking for additional ways we could serve.
Honeywell also launched an Emerging Musicians Artist Series at the Columbia Club here in Indianapolis late last year. Well, when we come back, college basketball, Indiana, and the fight against cancer. How Big Ten universities are pooling resources to discover more cancer treatments and also save lives. Will tip off once again in Indianapolis, the city hosting this year's Big Ten men's and women's tournament championships. Expected to draw some 70,000 visitors who will pump $20 million into the regional economy. Now, the tournaments also bring an important health component to Indianapolis. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta here now with more. Kylie.
Well, thank you, Gary. Competitors on the court are collaborators when it comes to fighting cancer, and the roster is now growing. The idea for researchers from all of the Big Ten schools to team up came from a playbook drawn up right here in Indiana.
The city of Los Angeles has taken over Indianapolis in a chance for the Big Ten Tournament Championship.
It was basketball that gave birth to the Big Ten Cancer Research Consortium 12 years ago, an idea that emerged from the IU Simon Comprehensive Cancer Center and its former director, Dr. Patrick Lair.
The Big Ten Cancer Research Consortium is where the Big Ten's fierce rivals join forces.
And its administrative headquarters are right here in the heartland at the Hoosier Cancer Research Network.
The consortium is 16 universities and cancer centers that are working together to help advance clinical research. And the way to describe it is they're really doing clinical trials together.
That means each cancer center adds its own expertise and more locations for recruiting patients, about 1,000 to date.
Each one of those patients looking for a new option with their cancer diagnosis. That's the most important thing.
And each trial has its roots with a doctor who sees patients with cancer every day.
It's interesting to see it's the doctor's idea as opposed to the industry's idea. And the fact that that option is coming directly from the patient's doctor, I think is exciting. It's really different, and it provides, some additional hope for this patient because they know they're working with somebody who's really looking out for them.
And now the cancer fighting team is growing.
Revenge is sweet for UCLA.
4 West Coast teams joining the Big Ten Conference made sports headlines last year. Now, big news for those trying to beat cancer.
it's exciting because be able to spread these ideas in these trials to more parts of the U.S.
Cancer is the one opponent that unites the entire Big Ten.
And of the 4 West Coast teams now in the Big Ten, the University of Washington's Fred Hutch Cancer Center has already joined the roster to fight cancer. UCLA, USC, and the University of Oregon are still being recruited. A life sciences startup in West Lafayette is celebrating a big step toward commercialization. Amplified Sciences earned regulatory clearance for its first product, which can help doctors detect pancreatic cancer. The disease has the highest mortality rate among all cancers. Testing lesions on the pancreas can help find the disease earlier. Amplified Sciences has created a high-tech dye that can tell doctors if the lesion is cancerous or not. The startup, which was founded by a Purdue University professor, also recently closed on a $2.6 million round of seed funding.
The work that the physicians are doing, it doesn't go unnoticed. It's really making a difference.
That's just one Riley parent grateful for the care their child received, and the Riley Foundation says every child deserves the best care. The foundation just launched its most ambitious fundraising effort ever, called Every Child Deserves Riley. It focuses on 5 priorities and has a record-breaking goal of $300 million. The effort has already raised $215 million.
Kylie, an interesting aspect on the Cancer Consortium. They put a big premium on mentorships.
That's right. Kind of think of it like, a seasoned player helping out a rookie player. For every trial that gets approved, the senior researcher on that trial is paired up with a very young researcher. And they're going to have a little fun with this too. Watch the social media. They're going to have the director of each cancer center doing some basketball moves.
I'll look forward to it.
Yeah.
Great report as always.
Yep.
Thanks, Kylie. Well, coming up next, a fly-on-the-wall approach to what happens inside rural public schools.
High school. Be brutally honest.
Time now for our Eye on Education, brought to you by PNC Bank.
Well, 2 female-founded startups are bringing new tech jobs to Indiana after participating in the first cohort of the Butler University Accelerator for Education and Workforce Innovation. Both companies have office space at 16 Tech and are committed to hiring Indiana-based employees starting this year. Sweden-based Magia Labs offers a platform for teaching the coding language Python to students in grades 3 through 9. It has customers in 17 states, including Indiana. Butler's program was the first time the company's founder and CEO visited the Hoosier State.
We worked with a faculty member at Butler University who is at in the College of Education, and she has been our third-party evaluator of our curriculum. So, actually we've been able to develop that relationship.
The other company, Awesome People Leaders, offers online leadership training and coaching. Founded by a Purdue alum, the company hopes to begin hiring Indiana-based employees by the end of this year. Purdue University is drawing blueprints and building up to the launch of a reimagined construction management technology program in Indianapolis. Students will get the chance to work with industry partners and learn about several aspects of managing projects. The program will begin this fall. Some students come from Hoosier farms, some do, others from low-income areas. Many of their parents work manufacturing jobs. We're painting a picture of what many rural Hoosier school districts look like. In this case, we head to North Putnam in west central Indiana, where the school district and community are being showcased in a new documentary. North Putnam is personal for producer Beth Bendix. She lives in Greencastle and has taught at DePaul University for 25 years.
I wanted to help people see for themselves what the realities and challenges of a rural school district looks like, and particularly how the relationship between our rural schools and the communities that they serve.
Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote. All those in favor of postponing the first main motion indefinitely, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Part of that synergy, school administrators and teachers relating to the students by listening to them.
Your task in 5 minutes is to come up with the single biggest problem at North Putnam High School.
Everybody moves away really quickly.
Yeah.
We had 3 different math teachers last year.
Actually,
4 different math teachers.
Making rural communities an attractive place for those teachers to live is one of the biggest challenges.
We don't have a major city, a town, where is a young 23, 24-year-old teacher going to live if they get hired at North Putnam?
What'd your dad do? Remember maintenance?
1/3 of high schools in Indiana are considered rural, which presents many challenges, like access to transportation, medical care, and the internet.
I mean, all of these sorts of things that I think we tend to take for granted if we have them.
Many of those leading and teaching inside the walls of North Putnam have deep connections to the community, even generational ones.
One thing in the film is that the school counselor is working with a young girl who he had her father in class.
For your dad? Cool.
And he visits her father in the jail.
I'm here to see Tyler. I was his teacher in high school.
And so you just see that impact that one person is having on countless number of lives.
So all of first semester is going to be about soils.
Drop your front arm, extend your back into triangle pose.
The North Putnam Doc, a lesson for all to help bridge the gap in where and how kids learn.
Cheeseburger in your cage, huh?
And the educators teaching them.
We talk a lot about there being this rural-urban divide and that these are two sort of separate worlds with separate concerns.
Good morning, Brain Boots.
I hope that urbanites will see that it's the same set of challenges.
Education is the bridge between talent and opportunity.
It's just different here. It's just different because people do care. And you can watch the full documentary at this website you see here on the bottom of your screen, the northputnamfilm.com. A great report put together by executive producer Teresa Ditton and chief photographer Clint Erbacher. Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of Inside Indiana Business. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm Gerry Dick. We circle back to the top of our show with video from Lamb Farms. Go out and make it a successful week.